The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our 11 o'clock briefing for this Thursday morning. Going to kind of take a quick run through what's going on, otherwise what we can expect over the next 7 days, just to keep everybody up to speed on where we are. I'm going to start off with just kind of taking a look at where we are right now. The most active weather that we are expecting is probably in the next 24 hours for the 7-day period. So this will be kind of really where we'll spend most of our time focusing today, and we'll touch a little bit more on kind of the end of the forecast period as we go through time here a little bit. Just wanted to start off getting a quick look at kind of where we are right now across the area. You can see temperatures are warming fairly nicely for early June. We got readings up in the low 80s already here at 11 o'clock. Still seeing some mid to upper 70s in the Piedmont. The other thing to notice is the blue numbers. The blue numbers showing those are the dew point temperatures, giving us the indication how much moisture is in the atmosphere. And right now we're pushing up into the upper 60s, even into the low 70s across the area. So we do have quite a bit of moisture in the atmosphere. You can tell it's a little bit more humid compared to what we've had been having over kind of the last couple of weeks. So we're getting a little bit more into a taste of summer at this point. So, but this is all setting the stage for us to see some shower activity, some thunderstorm activity this afternoon into the overnight hours, as we do have a cold front that's going to be moving through. I'm going to switch over to the current surface analysis, and you can see this was as of 8 o'clock this morning. You can kind of see where the frontal boundaries are. We do have what we call a lee trough that's kind of developing right along the Piedmont with the kind of the west-southwest winds interacting with the terrain, kind of creating a little bit of a convergence boundary. And that initially will probably be what becomes a focus to set off some of the showers and thunderstorms today. And then we do kind of have kind of a double frontal structure back to the west. We've got kind of a leading boundary that's pulling into West Virginia right now. We'll be crossing the mountains later this afternoon, and eventually we'll be getting off the coast really not till tomorrow morning. So it's kind of a slow-moving front. It's not rapidly moving. And then we kind of have a little bit of a reinforcing shot of some cooler, drier air that's coming in behind that as well. So, and we'll see that moving through on the day Friday. But with the limited amount of moisture, really not anticipating a whole lot of activity, but with that boundary, other than to cool us off a little bit more. So taking a look at the, see if I can get this to expand here for us. All right, we're going to refresh it here. There we go. We're going to take a look at the some of the models, some of the kind of the high-res models, and take a look at the radar depiction for today, just to kind of give you an idea. And most of them are painting a very similar picture. So this would kind of be about where we are right now, about 11 o'clock in the morning. There is a little bit of precip we saw on the radar that's a little bit ahead of this. So models aren't quite as fast catching on to that. But if you notice, they're all beginning to develop stuff along that trough that's out ahead and the cold front that's pushing through. And gradually we start to see a line of showers develop. And by the time we get to about 6 o'clock or so, we've got that line moving across the Wakefield County warning area, coming out of the Piedmont, and then rolling toward the coast. So by the time we get to about 8 o'clock tonight, we've got precip moving into the lower Maryland Eastern Shore, heading through the northern neck, coming down through Richmond, heading into Williamsburg, and gradually it makes its way all the way down toward the Tidewater and then northeast North Carolina. And hopefully by the time we get to about midnight, maybe a little bit after, most of the activity has gone off the coast. So I think when you look at the other models, and I'm going to pull up one of the additional ones, the NWS, just to kind of give you a look. You can see most of them are very similar in wanting to break the precipitation out later this afternoon, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the Piedmont, and then sending it eastward. And by the time we get to 11, 12 o'clock tonight, most of it's pulling off the coast. So, while there's some subtle differences in the model, the overall concept and idea behind it is really kind of what we're looking at. So, it does look like a day where we'll see some sort of a line of showers and thunderstorms form. We are under marginal risk. We'll take a look at that a little later as we're going through things. But just to kind of give you an idea of where we're looking. And really, once we get beyond, this area of precip coming through today and tonight, really beyond that, the next 6 days, there's not a whole lot going on weather-wise. We're actually fairly benign through that time period. So let's jump into the briefing slides right now, and I'm going to minimize that, and we'll go ahead and start to work our way through. So this kind of gives you an idea of where we're looking at with the front. So this would be tomorrow morning. You see the cold front that we were looking at earlier, pushing off the coast, getting through most of the precip's out. Maybe there's a few lingering showers down in northeast North Carolina, but for the most part, we're pushing off the coast. As we get into Saturday, high pressure, dry. Looks like it should be a really nice day for the first half of the weekend. Even into most of the day on Sunday, maybe late in the day on Sunday, we do get a little bit of a reinforcing cold front that's trying to come in. Model showing maybe a chance of some rain, especially as we get down to the Virginia Tidewater, down in northeast North Carolina, where we got a little bit more moisture for the front to work with. And most of the precip kind of stays a little bit more to the south during that time period. And it's really kind of where we stay most of the week next week. We do have another front that tries to come in Monday evening into Monday night. But again, it's limited with the amount of moisture. So the amount of rainfall with that really is not anticipated to be a whole lot. There may be a few isolated showers, especially northern neck, maybe across parts of the Maryland portion of the Delmarva, but really outside of that, really not a whole lot expected for the early part of next week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday look fairly dry. So overall, looks like kind of a uneventful 7-day period, at least right now, for the way things look. Looking at your severe thunderstorm potential, again, marginal risk for a few isolated storms could potentially get strong to severe. That'll be something that we'll be monitoring today. And if there's any warnings that need to go out, we will be sending those out. But right now, I think right now it's just kind of a marginal risk, a few isolated storms at best for any kind of severe weather. And if we do have any, the biggest threat really is just going to be damaging winds. I think it's damaging winds and could be a lot of lightning in these storms, but overall, we're really not anticipating anything that's going to be turning. We're really not anticipating tornadic activity at this point. And I think hail risk is there, but it's minimum. It's kind of marginalized a little bit just because of the warmth in the atmosphere right now. So that's kind of what we're looking at from a severe potential. The other thing that we could have is we could have some issues because of the atmosphere being pretty moisture laden. We know we've got it's not really a tropical atmosphere, but we've got a lot of moisture that's come up out ahead of this front out of the Gulf of Mexico. So because of that, because we have a lot of moisture, and these storms aren't going to be really racing fast. We were looking at the speed of the storms, kind of how the atmosphere is right now. And really, we're looking at storms that are maybe moving at 20, 25 miles an hour max. So with the slow speed of movement, you could get some heavy rainfall that kind of lingers over an area for a little bit of time as these storms are moving in. So as a result, could potentially see, maybe a little bit of, marginal flooding could be a possibility today. And that'll be something, especially the urban areas, things like that. If something parks in the wrong area for a wrong period of time, we could see a little bit of a flash flood threat. But overall, really, we've been fairly dry. Looking at the kind of rainfall for the last 14 days, a good chunk of the area is actually below normal. So this could actually be some beneficial rainfall that's needed, especially with the drier conditions that are expected over the 6 days after this front. All right, so you can see QPF wise, really, we're talking, a half to 1 inch, maybe, as we're maximizing it again down in, kind of southeastern part of the state into northeast North Carolina. Other than that, most areas are really a quarter to a half inch. And this time of the year, really, for an average weekly rainfall, we should be up around 3/4 of an inch, maybe 8/10 of an inch. So not quite exactly enough rainfall to kind of, just meet the average. So we actually could use, a little bit of, significant rainfall as this comes through. So it could be a beneficial rain as opposed to, an issue that causes a lot of flooding issues. So you can see total precip for the next 7 days, really not a lot more than what you saw in that first 72-hour graphic. In that first 72-hour graphic, really most of that falls before 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So again, not a whole lot once we get back past today for rainfall. So locations that need to get rain tonight, we really kind of need to see it develop today with the showers and storms as they roll through. All right, so looking at your regional summary, just kind of give you a glance overview. The thing I wanted to stress on the temperatures is, you notice behind each of these fronts, we kind of knock the temperatures down. So by the time we get into Saturday and we get some of that cooler air, and we're back seeing temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s, which right now, this time of the year, puts us, anywhere from kind of 3 to 5 degrees below normal. So a little bit of a cooler spell. We get a little bit of warm up Sunday out ahead of that next front that comes in. And then you can see as we get into early part of next week, Monday, Tuesday, we drop readings back down into the upper 70s, lower 80s before we start to see a warm up toward the back end of the week. As the area of high pressure that comes in starts to slide off the coast, and we get a little more southerly flow in the middle of the week to warm things up again. But overall, for early parts of June, temperature-wise, really can't complain with most of the readings staying in the 80s and even a few 70s, especially as you get up onto the Maryland lower eastern shore. And even on your low temperatures, we're catching a pretty good break behind these fronts, still seeing some readings getting down into the 50s for this time of the year. Again, we're below normal for a good part of those temperatures getting down into the 50s. So that's below normal for this time of the year. So considering the heat in other part of the country, I think it's a good relief before we get through summertime, because we know this isn't going to last, and we're going to see a lot more of these 70 type temperatures for lows as we get into July and August. And for your chances for precipitation, again, you can see your biggest concentration. Really, it's this Thursday night time frame there, and then again, Sunday evening into early Monday morning, again with another chance as that front comes down. And you notice most of the higher chances here are down, more Virginia Tidewater, Northeast North Carolina. You start getting up into the Virginia Piedmont, we're down around 20-30% chance of rain. So even stuff that falls here, I don't think we're going to see heavy QPF amounts to be much benefit as far as some of the drier ground conditions that we've seen so far developing over the last couple of weeks. Looking at the marine threat right now, we do have small craft advisory up on a good chunk of the waters. I think all but our southern coastal waters have gale conditions up, and generally we're seeing winds 15 to 20 with gusts up to maybe about 25 knots this morning. That's with the southerly flow behind the warm front that went through yesterday. But those conditions will be, as we get to later this afternoon, we'll be tapering off. We'll be getting back to 10 to 15, and really small craft conditions kind of go away. And looking at the next kind of 5 days with that, you can see that today is the biggest hazard where it's elevated. And then beyond that, really just dealing with kind of some nuisance conditions where maybe we're seeing some gust up to 20 on the bay. But again, nothing that's going to likely be small craft. There is a brief period of time, Friday night into Saturday morning, where we see a little bit of an uptick, up to around 15 knots on the bay. Marginal whether we could end up issuing a small craft, but right now, nothing that we're seeing that's very significant. That's more than a limited threat at this point. And you can see your maximum winds, generally speaking, these are really today. You're seeing with some wind gusts up in the 25 to 30 knot range. But again, that's limited really to today. I think once we get through, probably mid to late afternoon today, you'll see most of the conditions down well below that. And they'll stay that way through the 5-day period. And here's your summary. You can see that kind of matches, the winds being up today, really starting to tapering off. And then as we get in, maybe Saturday night and Sunday, we see a little bit of an uptick there. But really, for the most part, nothing really significant on the marine side. Coastal flooding, we are in a period of higher than normal astronomical high tide. So we're seeing a little bit of locations that are getting into what we would call action stage, which is kind of this nuisance flooding where we're getting up to maybe about a half foot of inundation, things of that nature. So not quite into minor, but just enough that, maybe during some of the peak high tide periods or, some of the low-lying areas are getting some water, things like that. And it's really just due to the higher than normal astronomical tides. It's really not much in the way of a meteorological impact at this point in time. So, and there's your kind of threat over the next 4 days from that. So you can see it kind of really does start to taper off as we get into Sunday night and then early next week as we kind of come out of that astronomically induced high tides. Rip current threat, do have a little bit of a threat today, a little moderate threat from Ocean City down toward Assateague and Chincoteague, so the northern beaches. Seeing a little bit of a moderate threat today, but with the flow turning offshore tomorrow and us getting into some weaker winds, kind of around maybe 10 knots offshore, pushing water away from the coast, the threat really starts to diminish. And really, we're looking at a low rip threat through the weekend. So overall, not much in the way of rip current threat to impact the area as well. Looking ahead, getting us out kind of into the, kind of the farther end of next week, middle to the latter end. You can see with temperatures out west, we've been hearing the stories out west of the temperatures well up above 100 across parts of the desert Southwest. Most of the interior of the West, is going to see a pretty good warm up. On the other hand, for us, we're going to be kind of a little bit on the below normal side, and it continues the trend that we've seen much of, kind of through the 7-day period, even beyond that. We still have a series of fronts in the northwesterly flow that are dropping in, at least that the models are kind of indicating will drop. So as long as we maintain this kind of northwesterly flow pattern and fronts moving through every couple of days, we'll be kind of seeing the temperatures kind of staying below normal. And you notice from a precipitation standpoint, just right along the coast showing a little bit of a chance of being above normal, otherwise we're kind of near normal. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that with this northwesterly flow, we're not seeing a lot of Gulf moisture being pulled up here to kind of influence the rainfall. So even though we do have fronts going through, we just don't have a ton of moisture. So that's kind of why you're seeing this kind of area below normal. We're not seeing a storm track that's going through the Ohio Valley. It's more of these fronts coming in from the northwest, and we're kind of limited with our moisture. So, right now, if we are able to get a little bit more rainfall, that would be good, because I know a lot of locations are actually, especially as we've gotten into the early summer months, are a little bit abnormally dry with their temperatures. So, or abnormally dry with the soil conditions, so we can use some rainfall. So, outside of that, that's everything I've got for today. We will be on this GoToWebinar link again. We're back here, and we will stay on that until the foreseeable future. So we'll be here Monday and Thursday to give a brief out. So if you guys have anything else, any questions, let me know. If not, we will talk with you guys again next Monday.